Hi, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today, we're going to talk about virtues and values, but not virtues and values as it pertains to adults, but virtues and values for our children. How do we instill that into today's generation? Because clearly, it was a key topic in my generation. I'm proud to have on the show today one of the best children's authors today, Miss Tonja Howard. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dre. Great to be here.
So let's just get right down to it. Tell the viewers about Tonja Howard before we get into all these extraordinary things that you have going on.
Yeah, so thanks for asking. You know, Tonja Howard is constantly evolving. And so I would just say, who is she today? I started my journey out pre-children, graduating college with a degree in psychology, developmental psychology. I absolutely love that aspect of psychology, child development, lifespan. From there, I went on to work with Buck Owens Productions for years. And then, fast forward, it was time to have my own family. And I remember being pregnant with my oldest daughter, and I remember being grateful for the way that my parents tried to parent me, right? We all do the best that we can, right. But I remember wanting something different for my own children. And by nature, I'm a very positive person. And so I can remember Google had just come out, the computers, and right. I Googled positive parenting. And Jane Nelson, who created Positive Discipline, popped up. And I am the type of person, that if I'm going to take something on, I'm diving headfirst, right. I'm diving deep, and I will, try to learn as much as I can and try to be not so much an expert in it, because I'm not sure we're an expert in anything, right? I mean, we're all human, but really wanting to grow the knowledge there. And so from there, I became, had my firstborn, really applied the positive discipline strategies. And in that process, too, it was really helping me grow as a person. Mm-hmm. And so I did that for years. I have two beautiful humans, teenage girls. My oldest is 18, and she's about to go off to college this year. And my youngest is 15, and she has 2 years left in the house. And so, I find that, during my younger years of parenting, and I homeschooled both of my girls for 8 years. Mm-hmm. And then when they went to high school, they went to just a private school here in Arizona. And I felt myself really start to grow as well in different areas of my life. I've always been an entrepreneur by heart. So, what I did is I crafted the way I made a living. I married it within my life because I still wanted to really be there with my girls, mm-hmm. and be available, but also keep growing in other areas of my life. So, I own a few businesses with my husband, and I also have my real estate license, and I hang it at Sotheby's and do a lot of investing. With that said, I feel like I'm at the point in my life to where it's really time to work in my passion. Okay. And my passion is raising children and ourselves on virtues and values, authoring books. It's something I've always wanted to do. And then really developing a program called Interconnected Parenting that will really support parents as they go through their own parenting journey, parenting through love, virtues, values, and mutual respect.
Man, that is...
wow, right?
That's a career. That's a career path.
100%. And so I've allowed the space to grow with my children, grow individually. And that really takes me to where I am today.
Yes.
authoring 12 books with Bob Sorensen, who's a wonderful man who has written many children's books as well. Juice Box Bully is one of them. In fact, I read those books to my children, so it was really neat to watch that go full circle.
What was
And
it
so,
like?
yeah.
What was it like for you growing up? Because I read your book. I read it as soon as it came in the mail. So thank you for the autograph book. I literally took it out the mail, opened it up, and I was actually getting ready to go out to have dinner or lunch. And I was so taken away that I did not put that book down. All kind of things went through my mind, but the one thing that went through my mind was, let's go back 1 second. What was your childhood like before I asked that other question?
Yeah. And I really appreciate you asking that question. And, it really gives me the opportunity to dig deep and be real. And my childhood was very different than how I chose to raise my children. I was the oldest of two. I have a younger brother. My parents did the absolute best that they could, and I loved them both dearly. But my dad traveled quite a bit. So my mother raised us, and my childhood, I always try to pull the positive out of anything in life, right? And so I learned as a child how to be strong, how to believe in myself, how to be resilient, and how what not to do in life by watching some of the things that transpired in my childhood.
What were some of the things? Because you just said some impactful words that, as a child, those words are not coming out of your mouth. You may try to use in your mind at that young age adjustment, but
That's right.
the words that you just used now, take the viewers what are some of the events that took place to now let you use these impactful words as an adult?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Dre, because you don't know how to put words to that when you're a child. And so, years later, when you've had a chance to reflect and grow, it's really then that you're able to process it and put those to words and then heal. So, in all honesty, both of my parents struggled with alcohol. It's very prominent in my family, and to be honest, it's why I don't even drink today.
Okay.
It's one of those things that I learned. I watched what it did to my parents' lives and ours,
And the fear of the unknown.
Yep, and it was something that I wanted no part of, and I never wanted my girls to have to go through that. So it was that, and also I would say, to be quite frank, a lot of emotional abuse that I don't think at the time, my father even knew that he was doing that, right? I mean, so it could be something amazing in my life, and everything was always my fault, right? I mean, everything was always my fault. So, trying to grow myself,
Right.
a big aspect of parenting is also reparenting yourself. Because we are going to have those wounds that we need to heal from in our own childhood.
What was the thing that I noticed about some of the guests that's been on the show, and we all suffer some type of trauma during our childhood. And
Yes.
I tell them it's not our parents' fault. It's how they were raised, and it just keeps going. Nobody tells them the right or wrong until we get older. But what are at least two of the incidents? Because you talked about alcoholism, you talked about getting blamed for things. What was one of each category that still to this day resonate in your mind, and you take that to your adulthood, because that's the one particular part of the trauma that you clearly do not want to have in your home now?
Yep. So what my takeaway from that and the alcoholism and the mental, I would say sickness, right? I mean, it's an illness. What I took from that is be the healthiest version of yourself that you can be for yourself and everybody in your life, especially your children, right? Especially your children. So that motivated me, Dre, really to, I can remember trying to figure this out on my own, all of the self-help books, everything. So it is being the healthiest version of yourself that you can be. And that will look very different to different people, right? For me, it is, I don't want to drink alcohol. I don't want to partake in anything else that is going to alter my mind, alter my moods. I want to take care of my body, my heart, my soul. I don't want to be perfect. I want to be human, but I want to continue to grow in a positive light and be the best person I can be and to fight for the person that I'm becoming.
Was there a network of help for you? And what age was this, and when did you actually recognize this isn't what you want?
When I had my own children, Dre. So, I looked at life through a different lens when my daughters were born to me. It was when I really started breaking it down, and really the reparenting started to happen, because what I noticed is the way I was parented was starting to come out, right? In the ways that I was dealing with my girls through punishment, anger, all of these things. And it is honestly, I don't regret anything that has happened in my life. Not my parents leaving me to fend for myself when I was 19, not filing bankruptcy. My father ended up committing suicide, and that in itself is really hard to rebound
Let's
from.
go back
right?
for a minute. You're 19 years old. This is two key components here. Let's start with your mom. You said she abandoned you. Give me some insight on that.
And I say that, and as I'm saying that out loud, it's interesting because I'm noticing right now I still have healing to do from that.
Yeah.
So that's very, yes. So, being able to also reflect is great. So I felt like it was abandonment, right? But the truth is, they were in a hell of a situation. The alcohol abuse and everything that went along with that. You really can't conduct your life, right? You can make as much money as you want and need, but if you cannot hold on to that, and if you cannot treat people the way they need to be treated and learn how to budget and the value of money, it's not much use. So what ended up happening at the age of 19 was they had really burned every single bridge where we lived, and they couldn't pay the bills. They couldn't pay the mortgage anymore. And they looked at me and said, "We are leaving. We are fleeing. We are moving back to New York to move in with your grandmother. Please come."
Wait a minute. You're 19 years old, and they said, "Please come. We're leaving."
Yeah. So and on top of that, yes, they had then put everything in my name. So because my dad wasn't, conducting taxes and everything well on the up and up, everything that we had was in my name. Well, what ended up happening is he couldn't pay that anymore. So I'm 19 years old. I have just filed for bankruptcy because I can't pay it. And
so bill collectors are now coming after you at 19 years old.
Yes.
Okay, keep going.
Yes. Nowhere to live, but all I know is that I'm not going with them, because if I go with them, my life will never change.
That's some serious contemplating at 19 years old, and still dealing with the dysfunction from, I guess, the moment that you recognized there was dysfunction going on in the house. What about your brother? You mentioned your brother. How was he adjusting to this?
My brother chose to go. At that time he was 16 years old, right? And I understand that. Right. He chose to go with them, and he stayed in that situation for a few years. And I would say 10 years later, actually, when I had moved on with my life and I had gotten through the bankruptcy and I had really learned to stand on my own 2 feet and support myself and rise above. And so by then I had married and had started our first business together. And my brother called me and said, I've watched what you've done with your life, and I need to be with you. I need to get out of this situation and live my life. And so he actually moved to California, where we were at the time, and started working with us and building his life up. And he is still with us today.
Wow. Let's go to an even sadder moment of this family tree. This now you're dealing with your dad, and let's get real.
Yep.
Alcoholism is an illness, and it affects not only the participant, but it heavily affects those on the outside that are family members, close friends, because we may not know how to deal with it, but we get the aftermath of the illness. So the aftermath for you was, unfortunately, your father took his life. Your father was going through a lot. What was that like? Did you reach out to him before this was going on? Was there animosity? Because here it is, both individuals leave you to fend for yourself at 19 years old, to go out and to grow up. Me personally, I can't conceive that. You know, I mean, especially my daughter.
Yeah.
You know, but not even the fact that my daughter, but my child, out of a situation that I created.
Yes.
So was there animosity before he died? Well, take the viewers through that part of your life, because he's still your father.
That's right. That's exactly right. So it happened a little later on in my life. I was married. Both of my girls were born, but they were very young. And I'll tell you, just years, probably 2 years before he committed suicide, he tried to do this very slowly by drinking his life away. And I remember said he, almost died. So Dre, I fought my ass off to save his life, and I did that. And he was good for a year. And then, like with alcoholism, it's very hard to beat. It really is. And so I kind of had an inclination, I guess I would say, by the conversations that he and I had. I just said to him, it's clear that you don't want to live. And if you ever feel that way again, I just want you to give me the respect of somehow letting me know, and somehow letting me know what you want done with you. I don't want to go through life and have you fall off the face of the earth like you've done before and me not know. I just need closure.
Right.
And that was really, really difficult and bizarre conversation for me to have with my father. But we had it. And so, Dre, I can remember the morning. He lived out of the country at the time, and his assistant called me, and he was obviously distraught. I had just had surgery for what we thought was cancer. So I was already feeling, pretty raw. And he just said, your father has committed suicide.
Why he was out of the country?
Yes.
Why was he out of the country? Because he couldn't, his credit and everything was so messed up in the United States?
That's right.
What part of the country did he wind up fleeing to?
He was in the Dominican. Yeah.
So he passed away in the Dominican. Now you have to transport his body back to the States.
Yes. And Dre, getting those, so obviously I just hit the floor, and it was unlike anything I had ever experienced. And, you talk about grief, and there's various stages of grief, right? And they're not linear. But I went through all of those stages. Why didn't he leave a note? Why didn't he say goodbye to me? Why didn't he love me enough to stay and get healthy? right? It's all of those questions. And he had sent an email just days before, Dre, and all it said was, "I'm checking in to make sure you're alive." That was it.
It
It's a left.
your mom and your brother, your husband, your children. How did they take this news?
Yeah. So my children were young enough to not understand.
Okay.
I have always also been the backbone of my family.
Okay.
Not just my family at home that I created, but also the family I came from.
Okay.
I was the sunny one. I was the one always rallying. I can remember my dad going into deep depressions and he wouldn't come out of his room. And here we go, like as a 15-year-old, you're writing a letter to your dad saying, "Please don't take your life." Like a 5-6 page letter. Like I can remember begging him to get well. So all of those feelings came up and just, it was like an avalanche to me. It really was. Yes. And not to mention the logistics, right? So my mother and my brother, it was very hard for them, but I am the one that had to take the reins and figure it out, just like I did with everything else in our life. Everything.
That's
Everything for my family's life.
that's a lot on that's a lot on your plate. So
Yeah.
you get ready. Let's move forward a little bit. So all the trauma has subsided.
That's right.
The whys still remain. They're always going to remain when a loved one or a family member or even a friend commits suicide. There's always going to be that why, or what could I have done, and so forth. And I know we have to keep moving forward to make sure
Right.
that it doesn't take us down that road of
That's right.
despair. And you've done that by writing children novels. Take me down that first novel that you sent me, because I still see the picture in my head. I'm sorry that I forgot to bring the book, but if you can show the viewers that
Of course.
particular book, I
Yeah.
loved it. Tell
So
me the
that-
story of that book.
Yeah, Grumpy or Grateful. So, again, I tell you, I have an incredible co-author, Bob Sorensen, and a mutual friend introduced us. We knew we were in the same arena as far as the parenting arena. He was affiliated with Love and Logic. I had done a lot of work with Positive Discipline and sat on the board. And so we already had that commonality. We were very passionate about children, parenting, and, a mutual friend and I were having a discussion about the next chapter in my life as the girls were aging out.
Right.
And I said, God, I've always said that I want to write books. And so many of my friends have said, why are you not writing about parenting? This is your gift. You are so passionate about it. And look at your children.
Right.
And I said, it's more than that. As I look around and I watch my girls grow up, I really believe that the way I chose to parent was really at the core. And so talking to my friend, I said, I want to write books. And he goes, oh my God, I'm so sick of hearing you say that. He's my friend who gives me tough love and I love him. He's like, that's it. You're doing it. And I'm introducing you to Bob Sorensen. So Bob and I talked, this was last year. And I said, Bob, here's my idea. I want to create virtues and values. I believe that children need to learn how to grow in virtues and values. And so he said, I couldn't agree more. And there isn't a better time in this world to be doing this.
Right.
So Dre, from, virtues, there's over 100, and then we could keep going. So we had to work hard to narrow it down to 12 virtues to start with.
Okay.
And so Bob and I went through that process, and we did that. And Grumpy or Grateful is the first book in this series, and it's kids learning about gratitude. Because
hold that book up again, because I know that little drawing has to be you.
So this is, I have to say, I love the writing process and the illustration process, because this sweet girl right here is actually my oldest daughter, Brantley.
Really?
And I will tell tell you that's exactly what she looked like when she was grumpy.
Okay.
So, so I had to honor my girls in this. Kiara in this book is resembles my youngest daughter, Bree.
Uh-huh.
And so, on this page is actually Brantley and Bree. I don't know if you
Okay.
can see it,
Yeah, I
but
see it. Yeah.
yeah, so that has been really fun. But so it's gratitude, Dre, and then from there, we are working into book number 2, which is kids learning about respect for others.
And this is
And
all about the virtue and value
it is.
series
That's right.
that's coming
That's right.
out. How much
That's
of
right.
how much of your story, and I can honestly tell the viewers, it's not a sad book.
No.
It's a great book, and it takes you into it. It's beautifully illustrated. The drawings are colorful. But as an adult, as I was reading it, my question to you when we first talked, how much of this is really you in this book?
Yeah. It really is half Bob and half me. And it's so interesting as you go through the writing process, and Bob and I go back and forth on this. It's hints of, so I say it's me, and Bob knows this too. When you're raising kids, I mean, even we have the choice to be grumpy or grateful every second of the day. And so, in this book, it resembles a lot of me, a lot of my girls, and him too, and what's awesome about this story and all of the stories in this series is these books aren't preachy. They are told in a very organic and fun way,
Yeah.
and they're relatable to children and, by the way, adults. I can't tell you how many people have said, wow, I needed to hear that message. Thank you.
Yeah, it was actually a great book. The first thing I said when I got done reading it was, I told my nephew Tristan, I was like, this is a good book for Kennedy. It's
Yeah.
I was just overwhelmed by it. My next question to you is, explain what's going on with a new venture that you got going on, the Hummingbird
Yep, Hummingbird Press.
Press. Yeah.
So, Dre, it's kind of how I work. And here I said in the beginning, anything I do, I'm going to do it. I'm going to dive in. I'm going to figure it out. And so Hummingbird Press just kind of happened because as I learn more about, the journey of authoring, publishing, and things like that, I thought, well, gosh, why am I just not opening up my own publication company?
Right.
Why am I not doing that?
Why not learn it?
Why not just go for it?
Yeah.
And so I did, Dre, and Bob was like, yeah, I'm not surprised, Tonja. Of course you did. And so I launched Hummingbird Press, and I have to say, the Hummingbird in itself, it was a message. I've always loved hummingbirds. I love what they symbolize. And it was one of those moments in my life to where I was a series of events and I just kept seeing hummingbirds. And I was like, what is the message here? Mm-hmm. And I had seen it for the last time one day, and I called my assistant and I said, I need you to find out right now, please, if hummingbirdpress.com is available. And if it is, we need it because I'm launching a publication company.
So the publication company that you're launching,
the publishing company.
What is its services for the viewers that may want to publish a book or trying to be an author?
Yes. So the publishing company will do just that. It will house the Virtues and Values series for kids and any other book that I write or Bob. And from there, I would love to be a publisher for more parenting books, self-help books, books on growth, books for children that encompass any sort of social, emotional learning.
Right.
I want it to be all that.
Right.
And then, of course, in addition to that, I want to have another division that really houses my creative side. And I've always loved planners and cute little notebooks and things like that. So I would like to have my own line of office supplies, and it will be called Hummingbird Press.
Now, I'm going to go back one notch here, because when you've been through a lot, and people need to understand, what have you done for yourself to deal with, because I can see when we was doing the interview, the emotions that tackled, and I'm trying to get into the mind of the viewers. What have you done? You're doing a lot for the kids, but what have you done to heal your whys?
Yes. So, it's a constant, it's a journey, right? It's a journey. And I really learned, and am still learning, the art and the gift of self-love, self-acceptance, healing, being open, and knowing that we are not perfect, and it is okay to fail, and it's okay to fail forward, and it's okay to hurt, heal, grow, and keep moving. So for me in my life, for the longest time, I felt really guilty trying to pour any love into myself. And, I know now that was because I didn't think I was worthy of that because of my upbringing. I felt guilty. I'm a 2 on the Enneagram, which is a whole nother thing, but I am a servant leader.
Okay.
And so and very positive, by nature, but I lead with my heart in almost everything I do. And I realized that I needed to live my life through that place, and to be in alignment and congruent with really my core and my beliefs. So every day I'm healing, Dre. We all are, right? We all have to take ourselves down that road and walk ourselves home. So I try to really carve out time for myself in the mental space, really nurturing my heart, surrounding myself with my people. I believe in quality, not so much quantity, although I know a lot of people. I love people. But really being purposeful about my life, and I say protecting my energy in that way, but I just staying laser focused on living in integrity and healing and being the best person I can be.
How can the viewers reach out to you?
So I have my website, which is tonjahoward.com, and that houses everything for me that I'm doing. And then, I'm on Instagram at the Tonja Howard. And then in addition to that, interconnected parenting, which is another venture of mine, is there.
To ask you about that.
That's okay. There's a lot to cover. And then Virtues and Values for Kids is also on Instagram, and that's the handle. And that will house all virtues and values for kids, tips, and then it will also keep everybody updated on the series.
Sounds like a winner. Leave the viewers, the parents, the individuals that went through the same type of situation that you've been through. You're now writing a book to inspire, to educate, to empower individuals to be the best parent, not the better parent, but the best parent, and to recognize that parenting isn't easy, but you have a responsibility with your kids. Leave them with something positive.
Yeah. So that's emotional for me because, I would urge everybody to be the best versions of themselves that they can be, and to live the best life that they can through the place that resonates with them most. And if they can parent through love, virtues, values, connection, and to be open to growing along with their child. And don't be afraid to swim upstream, right? Like I say that all the time. I mean, you've got to go and do what feels right for you. And I would just say, stay true, stay true to your inner compass and live through that, by that.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Virtues and Value series, coming soon by the one, the only child author, Miss Tonja Howard. Thank you for being on the show. This has been another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show.
Thanks for having me, Dre.